Nick Deutsch is a good friend of mine who we went to college together, and he is a musician, an artist, and an elementary school teacher. And Nicky's song Breaking Out is the music behind Braving Big Tech, the docuseries, season 2 of the podcast. And he's here to talk with us about a bunch of things. I think it's fascinating that, you know, on average, there's 1 in 10 elementary school teachers in the United States are men. We have a shortage of male teachers in schools. And I think we don't give teachers enough credit for the leadership that you're modeling for the next generation in so many ways. And so, you know, this is a community of leaders. And I think one thing I've learned as people message me when they listen to the podcast is it started with tech leaders, but really it's everyday leaders. It's all kinds of leaders, whether you're an academic or a teacher or an artist or an entrepreneur, or you do work in a big tech job. Like a 5th grade teacher who I went to high school with, who is now a teacher, listens and messages me and says, wow, it's so interesting because you're talking about tech stuff, but I am dealing with this in the classroom. Yeah. And that has sort of widened my aperture to realize, like, wait, there is this underlying layer of leadership. There are a lot of other stories that are not usually told, and I want to talk about that. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's really interesting. When people say, who are you? Like, how do you introduce yourself typically?
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about this question, and now I'm like, if I say I work in music, to me that kind of suffices. Because every musician that I know, especially if they're living in New York, just because of the expense of it, is kind of like, it doesn't, if I'm teaching music, if I'm, recording a vocal demo, if I'm doing something for commercial work, it's all in there. Like, yeah. I don't mind for the reasons of showing up in the world if I say I'm a teacher or I'm a musician. It does depend on like what mask am I wearing depending on where I am. Yeah. Now, I think it's interesting that we have to like do that, and how much of that is like for ourselves versus like the places that we're in. What I guess I'm like not comforted by, but like my friend Nicole, who actually she's nominated for a Grammy right now. You know, she teaches voice at NYU, and I've actually seen more and more like people with really high level careers are still teaching. And so I don't need to have a distinction between my work that is like more structured and stable versus my creative life. It doesn't help me. I also love my job. Like I love my job. I love teaching. I love being with children. And the two kind of balance each other out because I cannot have an ego at all when I'm in a classroom. Like it's not actually about me, and children will bring me down. But it helps me so much because when I'm in music business, not necessarily like a stage, but like a music business setting, there can be a lot of
egoic elements.
Yes. And that doesn't feel good to me. But if I can see that it's there, so like having both of them is like the yin and yang. They both help me. Yeah. Sometimes one saves me and sometimes the other does.
Yeah. I like that. And I like that you mentioned how becoming a teacher has pushed you into a different relationship with your ego. So I want to go there for a second. How has being a teacher, being surrounded by all these kids influenced how your ego shows up?
Yeah, well, your sense of identity in regards to your accomplishments or your talents mean nothing to a child. And that's why it's amazing. And I think that's why even very successful parents, like it doesn't matter if you're the CEO or something of some company, you have a 2-year-old at home. I sang a commercial, like a holiday commercial for Diners Club. And when the children found out that I did a commercial, they look at me different. The 5th graders look at me different because they have interesting questions. Like they're like, why you're famous, or why aren't you famous, or why aren't you doing this? And you know, I'm like I can't address that right now.
They humble you.
Yeah.
They humble you.
Yeah, sometimes it works to your favor, sometimes it doesn't. They'll take you down. And it's not, and like especially like I have so much experience now, almost 10 years at least in the DOE, working with children that like I know how to meet them where they are in a lot of places, but we don't teach parents. There isn't like we don't have like a formalized system for like, oh, you have a child, let's teach you about like their development and what is a tantrum, what's actually happening psychologically. Like you're kind of left to the wind. Like parents will read
figuring
books.
It out.
Yeah. You can read books.
Maybe you read books, maybe you follow some people, but you really don't, there's no manual that comes with it.
No. And so when you see like how are child misbehaving or showing up in public places and how are people responding, like if we helped people, like it would be a calmer place. And that's what children want ultimately, is calm. I mean, to me, they want to be in a learning environment that is calm. They don't want to be chaos. They don't want chaos around them, and they want a sense of safety. And
I think leaders and so do organizations also want a sense of calm. Like, how does your sense of calm show up? And I'm sure it's not just in what you say, but it's in how you say it and how you show up in the room, right?
Yeah, I do think that. Is it the word calm? Like calm and strength together. And in terms of being a teacher, like you need love that is boundaried and that has a clear sense of walls and protection around it. And love to children does not always mean a calm demeanor, or the challenge with this too is that different children need different things. Some children, unfortunately, if there are children who are raised in a home where there's a lot of yelling, they actually will not listen to you if you don't yell at them. I mean, initially,
that was me.
Initially, because they don't actually, they're being wired to respond just to like yell.
Yes.
So if I'm going up to them and I'm like, hey, what you're doing is blah, 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 they're going to laugh in my face. So you have to put the other face on, which is like, I'm talking to you like you're going to be, it's
take me seriously.
Yeah. I don't know how calm is. Calm and peace is more about like an environment we step into, right? Yeah. It's like when you go on vacation, the feelings that you probably want to have are a sense of like calm and peace. Yeah.
Order. Yes. There's order. There's some regulation. Like, this is a space where I'm going to learn. I don't have to worry about chaos. I think you used the word chaos too elsewhere. That's...
But if the home is chaotic or the culture is chaotic, then...
that impacts the room.
Yeah. And sometimes school is the only place where some children have a sense of calm. So
wow, that makes your job that makes the job of a teacher really hard.
Yeah, there's so many
what's dynamics. When you put all that in a room, the common denominator, oh my gosh, I don't think I could do that. I wouldn't know where to begin. I've seen some photos of like you in the classroom with the piano, and it's interesting because how old are the students? They range from
like 4 to 11 or 12.
Okay, 4 to 11 or 12. They're in the music room with the piano, and it's like the whole purpose of that container, that space, is to allow music as a mechanism to move emotion, to get people to feel, to sing, to evoke. And I'm like, wow, that is so beautiful, because when you get to our age, it's like pulling teeth sometimes, getting adults to emote and move and be in their emotions, And it's just so interesting that we spend all this time cultivating that as kids, but then somewhere along the way we lose that.
Yeah. And that our society doesn't actually have like a post high school structure for having art in people's lives that is still ongoing.
Yeah.
I think culturally there were places like, in faith traditions, like maybe you were singing there and stuff, but it's
like at a church.
Yeah. It's kind of, you're kind of just left on your own. And there are organizations that do stuff. You can join a local choir, you could join a local orchestra or something, but it's kind of interesting that we don't actually have these centers or spaces where we're like doing something together as a community that are, it's for everyone. And I actually would be curious, is this just an American, how much of this is unique to America versus in other places? It might be different. I don't know.
I'm curious, what are kids very honest about that adults aren't?
So, kids will, and some of this is tied around language and emotion. And just in the context of like, children will say they hate something very quick. They'll just be like, I hate it. Not all of them, but some students might be like, I hate it, or I don't like you, or I don't like her. Like, we've been having a lot of conversations about opinions in class, and what does it mean to like, when are we soliciting or inviting you to give your opinion on something? And how do you give your opinion in a way that is kind and not hurtful? Because when students, like with music especially too, I'll play a bit of a song and have like a chart on the board that has different emojis on it, and we take a vote of who likes it or not. I tell them, because I know some of them will instinctively just say, I hate it. That's
who those go.
Yes, it makes other people feel bad.
Right.
So when you're giving an opinion, you could say, I don't like it. It's not for me. I need to listen more to it, or I'm not sure.
Right.
Those are the ways that you can start the sentences that we're trying to give a sense of like, you don't need to hurt other people based upon giving your opinion. I do think it works with love too, though, where now I'm seeing a lot more children say, I love you, being more wanting to give hugs. All of that stuff is like, I think after the pandemic, because that was a very like, everyone was off. And I think now the kids are more nurturing and loving again.
So you feel that shift of energy in the room?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
And I would say I don't think we can always exist in the adult world like that. Like we cannot be that open-hearted all the time. Sometimes for our security. That's a part of adult living that I don't fully understand. I'm sure you too have like, sometimes if you've been on a spiritual retreat or something, you're like very opened up.
Yes.
Very receptive. And then like you come back into the city or something like that. And then all of a sudden you like feel psychically that you have to cover that. Yes. I don't know if that's bad yet. It's just something that we have to live with, which I don't know how I'm relating to it all the time. Although then understanding is like, there are hurt people in the world who they'll hurt you, and you cannot be that open, like walking down the street all the time.
And what's interesting to me is this contrast between, in one hand, here are these teachers in these classrooms trying to teach kids about sharing their opinions and doing it in a way that's kind and that's respectful of everyone else. And you create a container and a whole system to do just this. And then on the 5 o'clock news or on social media, you see modeled totally opposite. And it's like you have one foot in one world and the other foot in the other world. And I'm curious what that feels like for you as a teacher.
You know, I used to have a mindset of just like black and white thinking, or like declarative statements are inherently connected to a sense of pain. Like, I don't know, but when I was, there was like a guidebook I was working on, that was talking about like ways that like our criticalness or our critical parent shows up. Yes. And one way is by just using black and white thinking or something else. Now, if you go on certain social media sites, you're just going to see people using that. Now, am I going to psychoanalyze them and say they're all hurt people? I don't know. I don't think that helps anybody, but at least I'm always like, what is the thinking?
Yeah.
Like,
what's propelling this?
Yes. Or and if I see the statement that's just like, blah, 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 then I'm like, is everyone traumatized?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? How much of it really means something? The thing that I struggle with is that there's no depth. That you can't actually have depth on social media. And I know that, I mean, you can in conversations and in long form videos, but I mean like in a comment. Yeah. And when you try to engage with people about like the depth behind that, you're just not always going to get there. It's not realistic, but like, how do I ping back and forth? I just, sometimes I feel called to respond to it or to like elucidate something, but I'm like, I'm not going to teach these people.
Something you said just a second ago, I think is very interesting. You said, you're basically looking for the intention behind the expression of the word. It's like you said this, but I know as an elementary school teacher, that's not the face value. There's something underneath that propelled this. And that's where you try and go. It's like, and that's actually connected to, that's intention. We teach this with leaders all the time. Like what's beneath the surface? What's the root? What's the intention of this? And then from there, you can understand it perhaps a little better. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if it's, I've seen this term a lot, rage baiting, which I'm like, oh, that's a good song title there. Something about rage baiting. But what is the psychological effect that it has on us when posts are designed to just get us to a rage immediately? Like, I'll know it. I'll know that I'm like, that post or that picture is designed to have me go right to rage and bypass everything else.
Correct.
But I know that intellectually. But I don't know, do other people know that it's actually a tool that is being...
Yes.
It's marketed towards them to get them to go there for a reason.
For a reason.
It's really like...
And then once you see that, though, you can't unsee that, I feel. Yeah. You see it. I certainly saw it as a marketer. In fact, that was part of the reason why I left marketing, because I was like, I understand what I'm doing. I'm basically trying to suggest to people that they're missing something, they lack something, or something's wrong, or they need to buy something.
Yeah.
You know, your life could be better with this.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I'm constantly in this, what's missing that I can
Well, we both
lure
worked
you
at a
in?
company who part of the motto was like, you don't know that you need this.
Yes,
You
that's
know?
true. That's true.
So like,
That's true.
like
Yes. So what has your time in these classrooms taught you about emotions?
I think, isn't it interesting that we have to be taught what they are? First is just the recognition. Like, I don't know if when I was going to elementary school, and I actually loved my elementary school experience.
Me too.
I'm
Me too.
so happy.
In fact, I have elementary school teachers who listen to this.
Like, I loved elementary school.
And
And I don't know
Okay.
if we had social emotional learning there. Like, maybe I was getting it from like music and theater. I'm not sure. But within the past like decade, we've seen social emotional education go into the schools, which to me is
new.
Yes. But when you think about it, it's like children need to read, they need to write, they need to understand math. Like that, there's no questions there. But if you're not teaching them about like what the feelings are in the body, I'm like, aren't we missing kind of some of the human experience?
More
to
than
be
the
like,
Pythagorean theorem.
yes, like
Hello?
First, you have to learn what emotions are, but
tell me what they
also
are.
humans. I don't know like about you, but I know in my like therapeutic experience,
Yeah.
like seeing this wheel. I'm sure you've seen like the wheel of
Yes,
emotions
the wheel of
being
emotions.
like, whoa.
Whoa.
How do we even parse through these?
Yeah, for
and the
real.
kind of like initial, oh, there's only 4 major feelings:
Right.
happy, sad, blah blah blah.
Right.
And I'm like, they're like the
It's far more complex.
Yeah, the to me now, I'm like, what our body can like process through is as vast as like the universe that we're like looking at.
Oh my
That like we
gosh,
have
totally.
that we have that much ability to like have feelings like intersecting, interacting, blah, blah, blah. Like it's
And I think we're one of the only, I think I was reading this the other day, we're one of the only species that does have such a range of emotions like this. And what you think is pissed off might be something total. It might be 3 or 4 other things that once you have language to wrap around this experience, things change about it.
and that they can be tiered. Like that sadness is almost always under anger, which is like, we can visualize like when I think of that, I think of like a ladder, and I think of like, okay, sadness is here, anger, then rage or violence. Like violence is at the top, but all those other ones, and like how much casing is over that you have to get to.
Get through,
But
yeah.
with children, you said, you know, it's interesting because sometimes we have to give them the language first of being like, what that is, that's anger. This other one is sadness. We have to give them the
Label
sentence we have to label it first. I do think as adults, it can be murky, where it's like, it's almost like we can have moods versus like one thing. Like it can be this and then that on top, and one part of me can feel this and the other part of me can feel that. And then I'm like, how is my whole structure holding all of this? You know, who's in charge?
Who's in
And that's
charge?
when I'm like for me, the family system stuff can help.
Yeah.
Has helped me.
Yeah.
And ACA recovery stuff has helped me, like as like that methodology works for
Yes.
me. When I'm trying to be like,
Yes.
how is it that I'm one person, right? I am one self, but then I have a part of me that wants this and a part of me that wants that. I'm already
sometimes at the same time.
yeah. So who's in control?
No, totally. And I think that's why music is so powerful, because it allows us as humans to play with that wheel of emotions in a way that may not even be conscious. Yeah. You may not even be aware, but something strikes you, a lyric, and then all of a sudden you're fucking bawling. And you're like, what's happening here? And I'm like, oh, something's going on inside of you. And like music allows us to touch that and experience that. Yeah. And you can't see it, but you can feel it.
And I think sound itself as a vibration is doing something.
Yeah.
I mean, I know with whales and other creatures that like how they're communicating through sound and through mapping vibration is like, it is just astonishing to me when we're like, our ears can hear at this certain decibel level, but there are species that are like, their ability to like filter through just constant sound, and also sound like singing itself is a regulatory
Exercise?
Yes,
Really?
yes. I was reading that like humming.
Yes, it is. Humming.
You know, I laughed when, you know, I don't know if we talked about Esther Perel, but when she had answered some question when someone's like, what do you do when you don't know? And she says, I start humming because you can't hum and think at the same time.
I remember that. Yeah. No,
Which is interesting because
totally.
humming, just making sound. I mean, you're not just making sound, but making sound is doing something to us that is like it's balm. It's like a balm.
Yeah. I mean, this is why I went back and did a lot of research on my heritage. You know, my dad's from the mountains of Ecuador, in the Montubio Mountains, where they would sit around fires and dance and sing and take plant medicine. And it's like, there's a reason why they were chanting and singing and doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, this is somatically how they're moving the energy through their body when stuff happens.
Yeah.
Like, yet we're so stiff in this society. And it's amazing to me. Like, I can't unsee it now, how stiff I was for so many years. And now I realize, like, oh, okay, singing, vibration, moving. It's like, this is part of what it means to be human.
And music making together, which is like, it makes me not, I don't want to say sad for modern people, but I have a question mark over like, I have it in my life in a way that's more accessible than a lot of people. But like what you're saying, the kind of like cultural support of like at night, you're sitting with people over a fire or something, or you're just making music. There are songs that everybody knows that you're all singing. Like that it's been removed for a lot of people from their life. I don't think people know what they're missing either.
Now, I want to know, when people walk by your classroom, do they know what they're missing? Do they go into your room and they're like, yo, that's the coolest room? Like people they're singing and dancing?
I was teaching the kids Journey, Don't Stop Believing.
Oh, really?
And all of the other staff, they'll always tell me like, they're like, we know how hard you're working because we just hear you making music all day.
Aww.
So and they're like, oh, I love it, because I do like all different genres and stuff. And
wow, so that is so cool. Yeah, and
like they know I'm always working. There's always sound.
Sure. Well, that's what I'm saying, and it's interesting because that's like a really special. It's a magical space because you're in this school and your job is to generate this energy through music and get kids feeling and moving and singing. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty cool. It's it's better than freaking chemistry. I mean,
they're all
no
needed.
offense to the chemistry people. They're all needed. They're all needed. But like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's a different vibe.
Yeah. And it's, young kids, it's just like natural. It's natural. Watching
What's natural?
Asking like a kindergartner to improvise dance is like, they'll just do it. Now, sure, there might be shy students, but some of them will just get up and they'll just start going. And I am like, I have to turn my head because I'm like, I'm smiling or laughing or whatever it is. And I'm like, they don't care. They don't care at all.
I love that.
And like now when you think about like being an adult and being like awkward at dancing and they're like, man, what, like we lost something.
Yes.
Because like dance is like in our nature.
Yes.
Having kids move and react to dancing. So.
It's in our nature. I totally, I still struggle with that. I'm like, oh, and then sometimes I'm like, why do I think I need a few drinks in order for me to shake my ass on the dance floor? That's a story I'm telling myself. Yeah. Why? Because I'm too rigid? Like, well, come on, this is ridiculous. Yeah. My 4-year-old niece is there twerking. She's like flying around the room. She don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And that there's a magic in that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I don't know if it's somewhat connected to like people feel like if they're not professional, somehow it's not it anymore. Yeah. But I don't know. I've been places and seen that that's not really true. I mean, like especially like sometimes like in Latin American music and places, you've got older like much like old people getting up there doing the samba. They don't care.
Oh, that's true.
They don't care. They're like,
true.
you got the kid, you got the 5-year-old, you got great grandma, she's in the back,
and the whole
everybody's
family.
There. They're all doing it.
All the Latinas, they're all dancing.
But you have to see it. You have to like be in a place where you're seeing that happen.
It's interesting. I was recently talking with my mom about this. Like I've been struggling to put myself out on social media. And we were trying to get to the root of like, where did this begin for you? That someone is watching you and you are uncomfortable with what they think. And as I traced back the memory, it went to me being a young boy in Ecuador. My dad's town. My dad took me to Ecuador to meet family, and I only spoke English, so I couldn't talk to anybody. I didn't really know them, but here I was. I looked this like white boy from America here in the middle of nowhere. And we were I just remember us eating and dancing. And I just went up and started moving my hips and stuff. And I could just hear all the women and people, all the adults talking, chitter chatter, like, oh, what is this kid doing? Like, look at the way he moves. And part of me was like so excited, but then there was also a part of me that was like worried.
Yeah.
That I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I'm moving my hips too much. Like they're laughing at me. And then I distinctly remember that moment as being like, okay.
It's like I'm connecting with that sense of gaze upon you. Like
Yeah.
it made me think of when I was ice skating, and because I loved figure skating, I noticed that there's a different type of looking that was happening to me, because it's like, well, there's the boy doing that, and that's not us.
Yes.
And the threat, the perceived femininity or the perceived
he's
whatever.
different.
Yeah.
Something is different.
Who's that one spinning over there to Aladdin versus the group of 15 of us with the hockey stick.
Yes.
It's so imperceptible.
Yes.
It's just like, but you can
feel it.
Yeah, you can feel it. You're getting something is looking at you in a way that is like something is off.
Yeah.
But you might not even know what it is.
Yeah.
You're just aware of the feeling.
I'm just aware of the feeling.
Yeah.
And what I didn't realize is that like that sat with me and that still lives with me today. And I am on the journey of being kind to that part of me and saying, it's okay, boo. Like you can now shake your ass on a camera and make money.
Yeah.
Hello, you can put some good energy, good vibes into the world. You could do well in the world. You can use it to spread some joy and positivity. Yeah. You don't have to sit there and doubt yourself. I mean, come on now. Like, and it's just interesting. It's like, and each time this comes up, it's like another layer peeling back the onion. I want to know what the hardest part of being a man in an elementary school environment is, or if you even feel that at all.
I like that question because I think now it's not hard.
Okay.
When I started, it was very different, especially in elementary.
Really?
There were 2 male teachers at the time, and this was maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
So now there are a lot more, not only just there are not more men in elementary education, well, there are, but there's a lot more people from corporate and other lawyers and other jobs going into education post midlife or midlife. Yeah, we have a couple.
Wow, I love that.
Because they're like that life isn't working for them.
Isn't working.
So I sometimes am like, I feel so lucky that I got in when I did. It's also just related to like, I've somehow been lucky to be employed through a lot of economic stuff happening in the country where people that had much more degrees or other kinds of things were just completely let go. That shocked me. That's something that's just surprised me, that like I haven't been like just like mass layoff or like mass firing of teachers or mass firing of educators.
That's because you're talented.
Well, I don't know if it's me. I think it's the career field itself.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think it's that there's a stability, but it's like, what's the offset of that? It's that, you're not going to make $200,000. You're not going to make some of these salaries that are just like so wild, but you're not going to have this like stability under you. Mm-hmm. The caring professions still need men. Yeah. Like that's like, what if boys right
Richard
now.
Richard Reeves, by the way, this is from Richard Reeves of, was it A Boys and Men? I think it's an extraordinary book of boys and men.
It really helped me see this like question of like, why is care, like what is happening when a culture says that like care and men are not aligned? Like if the culture itself is trying to subtly give that message versus like if you're a male nurse, why is the immediate thing some kind of, I don't know, or I'm not saying for me, I'm saying for people. This like, well, okay, but if they're a doctor, but you can't be the nurse. And it's like, well, you can teach high school, but you can't teach elementary. There's this weird thing that we have about men and children. And I would be curious in other countries
if it's as pronounced.
Yeah, I would argue it probably isn't.
Yeah.
But that's just because some of the questions you had about education are also not as pronounced in other countries, where like, why is even saying I'm a teacher in America immediately looked at with a sense of I feel sorry for you, I feel bad for you. There's this kind of pitying And I'm not saying that's not deserved in some places.
Right,
And I would also
right.
be clear and say that I would never do this job in other states. There were certain states where I would just say no, because they don't care about you. The state has no funding for you. There is no protection. There is no union. Your salary is like at the poverty line. I mean, why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah, so people aren't incentivized. Good people are incentivized to go into these roles.
And that's why there's not, when you ask like the 1 in 10 number, I don't think most like men who are graduating college
are thinking about.
Yeah, well, they're going to look at the salary.
Yeah, they're going to look at the
money.
money.
What is this? And there's nothing wrong with that, but you could again ask the question, what does it say about a country's values if the salary is so low that men aren't going to want to do it?
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, it's not the people saying that. It's the culture that is saying that, like, we don't value this enough to give people this thing that, like, that you should be paid as much as a doctor or a lawyer.
I totally agree with that.
And it's bizarre. And I do know that is an American thing. Like, you can go to Denmark.
Do you think teachers talk about this collectively? There's a collective understanding of this generally? This is such a ubiquitous thing.
Yeah, not in New York. We have an amazing union and we can do very well here.
Okay.
So there are states where this doesn't apply.
Okay.
So,
but by and large,
yeah. But like in Facebook groups, when I read like in the elementary teachers things, I'm like, man, people are thrown to the wolves.
Wow.
Just like they are not cared for at all. And I'm like, you're raising the children.
Yes.
Like that's to me the most
children.
That's like the most bizarre thing, which is like, with insurance too, like things can happen where like, and this is not true of New York or of all, but I've heard a lot of stories of people being like, I'm going to the dentist. I teach the dentist child every day, but the dentist can't, it's not the dentist's fault, but the insurance will not cover me for the care that I need. But I'm literally raising your child. I mean, you're raising your child, but like I'm a big part of their life.
Yeah.
Like,
they're spending a lot of time with me.
Yeah, I don't get it.
No, I agree. I totally agree with that. That's why I wanted to talk about this, because I think, teachers are the ultimate leaders. I mean, they're leading and preparing the next generation. Yeah. By the way you're showing up and by how you're handling all the complexities that are being thrown your way. I mean, and because you are sacrificing some kind of monetary value to be in that role in a world where people could peace out and go somewhere else. Yeah. So that's really, that's extraordinary. Now I'm curious. I know that you and I were both seekers. We've both done a lot of personal development and growth stuff. Tell me about, I know you love Carl Jung. How has he influenced you as a teacher or a musician? Let's start there.
He's influenced my understanding of what's happening in the West with our spiritual center. Yeah. That's what I would say. Okay. Is that like when I was in my most yearning to understand like way deeper mysteries of like, why are we like, what is thinking itself? Why don't we actually teach children about like what is a thought made? Like what is a thought? Made of? How is a brain processing a thought? I mean, there's so many questions once you start looking at that word consciousness of like, why are we self-aware and all of these other things? I needed somebody to explain to me like what has happened in the West. And when I say West, I mean like, in America, our educational system comes from Greece. Like all like the democracy and these system that we're under is a Western way of thinking. It doesn't always mean like in the West of the view, in the West of the world. But I needed somebody to explain to me, like if I'm growing up in America, why are these ideals the ideals that I have? Why is my worldview the way that it is, and my belief systems? And then he uses the soul, and to me that's why I was like, why is modern man suffering so deeply? How do we have more wealth, more systems of understanding, better like scientific discoveries and stuff, and then more depression, more suicide, more violence? It doesn't make sense. No. I'm sure humans were always having existential questions about like what happens when you die, or what was before the Big Bang, whatever these big kinds of things they were having. Yeah. But by and large, these like ancient cultures, like everybody believed that you had some kind of soul or like substance. Yes. It wasn't until like after the like scientific revolution and all these other time periods where suddenly it was like the soul got pushed out, and it was just like, oh, actually you're just like a human meat sack, like full of like subatomic particles that are just kind of interacting, and there's no meaning at all. There's like everything is just random.
Everything was stripped out.
Yes, everything was just taken out, and it's like, I think now we're kind of
coming back to that.
We were trying to, we're trying to find ways of understanding.
I agree. I think that's the work. It's like we went away from that. And I think especially with AI and as things will change over the next 10 years, we will realize that the intellectual exercises, the purely cognitive functions is just one piece of this, that there's something beyond the five senses. There's something deeper than this that people since the beginning of time have somehow found a way to be in relationship with. And we're coming back to that.
Yeah. Even the fact that we like have an unconscious, to me, is wild.
Yeah.
Because if you see that picture of the graph where it's like the ice, the polar ice cap and the water's here, and it's like we're using only this little bit of consciousness. There's a large part of us that is completely acting under the radar of our ego awareness. So I'm like, how much can you really know at all if we're not even engaging with this, whatever this is, and how much are we just shoving back? You know, it's like, so how real are we living?
I love this line from Carl is connected to what you're saying, which is, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate.
Yeah.
And that just, it resonates because so many of us, the people listening and watching, high performers, very intellectual, very, on overdrive, very successful.
Yeah.
And I was one of them. And I did not realize until I was about 30 years old that like, oh, I am not the actual thoughts in my head. Like all those things running around right now, speaking to me and saying a bunch of different things, that's not me. That's one part of me. I'm the one who notices that.
Yes.
But I spent so much of my life, on the toilet, in the shower, in meetings, in bed, on dates, with this thing in my head constantly talking to me, judging me, saying all kinds of shit. And I was like, wow, either someone shared it with me and I wasn't aware of it, but I don't remember the chapter on this. I don't remember teachers, anyone sitting down and telling me this shit.
There isn't an education for this. And, one reason why I love Jung so much too is he's like, we're not actually rational beings, and we think that we are.
But we're not.
So that to me is like the positive hammer on the ego. We think that it's like we're all agreeing to this invisible contract that's like we're all rational. And I'm like, okay, but then we have like nuclear weapons here, and then also we're like standing on a planet that's like floating in space. We have to make space to understand that like we're way deeper than we think we are.
Yes.
And that we don't actually know a lot about ourselves. And we don't know a lot about our psyche. We don't know a lot about our unconscious.
Yeah. That requires us to be humble. It requires us to have humility. And I think that's where we're really missing that.
Yeah.
Everybody's stuck in the performance of I have to be right.
I think the reason when you talk, I don't think we talked about that quote at 40. I think this hit me earlier than other people.
What's the quote again? It's
life starts at 40.
Yes, and until then, it's all research. I love that.
I think until you have a major like catastrophic loss, the intellect doesn't get cut. That's because I think we are building our sense of self in a world that is rewarding success, and there's nothing wrong with success, but it's rewarding us with our intellect and our abilities and our talents and all of these things. But when life comes in and is like, I don't mind for me saying like when my mom got cancer and died, suddenly I was like, none of that matters. I'm not always living in there. It does matter. But like when that moment happened, like my mind was like, literally the world went like this. And I was like, nobody has talked to me about any of this, about like what I'm feeling, what loss and grief are, what attachment and bonding. Like, no, I was just like left in I don't want to say I was left alone. I wasn't. But what happened to my psyche of like having to grapple with mortality and like deep existential questions of like, well, I'm going to I'm not going to be here, or
forever.
am I?
Yeah.
Or like, what am I? And like when
Wow.
people can just be removed. And, you know, I think it does connect, I think, with death in our culture because we don't talk about it. And in American culture, it's like hidden away or it's pushed, you know, when people used to have 10 children and 8 of them died, I think that they had to like, it was in our face for a long time. It was in our face. Like, we're going to lose. Life is going to be lost.
And that was around what age?
I was 26 then.
You were 26.
Which even for some people have lost parents at 13. I had a kid at my school who was in elementary school lost a parent. It doesn't matter what the loss is.
Yeah,
it's just like at some
matter.
point,
Wow.
it doesn't matter if you're like, I don't even think it matters if you're the most powerful person in the world. Like if your children die, if your wife or husband gets killed, you can't intellectualize your way out of it.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't be, it's not like a date. The analytical part of the brain cannot hold that. It doesn't, it's not helpful to just sit and be like, oh, you know what? These are actually just like, I don't have any serotonin left. And so I have these feelings that the atoms are telling me that I'm sad. I mean, like it's really, it doesn't work.
And I think that's so true that we don't talk about it. Death comes knocking or hits us. Something tragic brings us to our knees.
Yeah, divorce. I mean, it can be a drug addiction.
It could be a drug addiction.
It doesn't matter what it is.
Rock bottom, whatever it is.
Something is going to hit you.
Something
and
is going
at
to
some
hit
point,
you.
You're going to have to decide how are you moving forward.
How are you going to navigate it?
Yeah.
And we don't talk about that openly. We don't talk. We don't have a culture of talking about this.
No, it's helped me. I mean, it's helped me do a lot of the work when I just felt called to do it because I was like, I don't have a choice because the other choice is you just jump off the bridge. I don't mean that for myself. I just mean when a major tragedy happens. And I think for most people who are lucky and they're living in a industrialized society that has a lot of money, it probably is around 40 where like your parents are getting older.
Yeah, you're right.
One of them is going to die or maybe you have a child and they have cancer. Like these are happening to people all the time. Like what is happening to your sense of self is not really openly, it's not processed out loud. You know, maybe with a therapist or clergy or something it is, but it's not like we don't really see examples of this.
What would you say to your 26-year-old self that you know now?
Oh, yeah. I would just say that I love him a lot and I'm just sorry. Like, and that like I would just try to like hold the crap out of him. Yeah. Makes me, it makes me, I can easily like get teared up just overthinking of like, life will still have magic in it. It can still have awe in it. Love and family, like these things don't just, they're not gone forever.
Yeah, well, I have to tell you, I remember this happening to your mom. I don't remember how I found out exactly. It was a little bit of a blur, but I do remember it. And I remember you being the second friend in my life who had a mother pass. And I just avoided it like the plague. I was so scared. Yeah. Like I didn't know what to say to you. I didn't know what to do. I was deathly afraid of this happening to my mom. So it was almost like, it was like the thought of me trying to connect with you made me think about what would happen to me. And that was too scary. And I was unwilling to feel that. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to ignore it and avoid it and run away from it. And I think about that. I think about that because it's gonna happen. Yeah. Like this is life. And I'm aware of it now because I've done my more work on myself. So I'm aware, but there are a lot of people who don't know how do you handle yourself in that process when someone next to you has it or you've done it. Yeah. It's scary.
Yeah. And I think part of the thing is that we're just not practicing this with people. Like we're just not in communities where we're practicing holding space for people in this. I mean, I found as an adult that definitely exists, but I think in the wider way of what we're living, it's not like we have a town hall every week where like you and your building sit in a circle and we're like, let's just see like how can we care for each other? What's happening? What's coming up for people? Yeah. It doesn't exist. Like that framework is not a framework that we're living in. I appreciate you telling me this, and I just have like memories of like looking at people who are still in school and doing, living how their 20s quote should be. But I don't hold on to that word now, should at all. But, and being like, wow, like I've been under an illusion myself just of like how lucky I've been or what things I've had that like, you know, there's people in the world who like this is just around them all the time, or they're in a war zone and this is just like this is around them all the time. And like how the hell do we help these people, but how do they get out of that?
Yes, at a sort of larger scale, you know, I just remember my sister working in the ER holding the iPad for people who were dying during COVID and couldn't see their family. And if you think about the last 5 years and how much grief there is, the people who died, fellow friends or relatives that have got sick and died, whatever, and we sort of just fast forwarded. You know, we were just like, let's 1.5x this. Okay, it's 2026. Like we're going to,
you know, we don't even have a day of mourning for that for COVID, which is shocking to me. There is not one. I'm like, can't we have a day where we just sit and remember?
I mean, really. Yeah, really. Wow.
How many people lost people? I understand you don't need to live there, but it's a door that we should open just to be like, we can honor these people.
We have to honor it. And even honor ourselves, the grief of maybe you lost a job, maybe you lost a relationship, maybe you lost, you know, you're going to work every day, whatever it was, everyone lost something during this. And we sort of just tried to push through. And I think a lot of that's coming out of the woodwork now. It's coming out and the anger and the despondency and the aggression and the, you know, the way we're treating each other. It's like, everyone just needs a hug. We need to kumbaya a little bit and lower the temperature. Allow ourselves to grieve and to feel.
This to me is the like maturity of like, even like the being 40, like approaching 40 or having that adult sense of like adult ego, maybe our maturity ego is like, that to me is where the wisdom really is. Because how do we exist in a world where we can hold all of this uncertainty, all of these things in conflict, but still show up and still have a measure of hope. And everything else that's there too. But it's like, how does a human hold all of this? You know?
And I like that you use the word wisdom because I think a lot about the difference between wisdom and intelligence. We've given a disproportionate amount of energy to intelligence, you know, how smart you are, how well read you are. But the wisdom is, you know, it's alchemized through the pain, through the hardship, through whatever difficulty you have to navigate. Wisdom comes out of that.
Well, we have very little wisdom right now in culture, I would say. We have a lot of communication and we have a lot of, like you're saying, intellectual kind of like, I don't want to say like vomiting, but who are the people that are in positions of wisdom right now is it's an interesting question. Like when I was looking through to like gay wisdom leaders, I was like having to go way back to like the 60s. It is kind of weird when you're like, where are the elders right now?
Where are the elders?
Who are the adults in the room? And when you look at like the politics or whatever, and you're like, okay, so we just decided that actually having traumatized people in positions of power, that's what we want. That is strength. And it's and
in fact, it's the ultimate sign of weakness. We should do better and know better at the fact that these are people who need support. They do not belong in these powerful positions. It's like, you got to get out of the front seat because you're not regulated. You're not in a position to be doing this. This doesn't make sense.
And we can't seem to be able to untangle our perception of power. I don't want to say power and wisdom, but we have a misguided view of what power and strength are. Like we've locked it in this weird this version of masculinity that is showing up right now. That is like, oh, but we already know this. Like this is what history is. So it's confusing to me.
I'm curious in terms of grieving that moment where the intellect was cut for you. What was the role that music played for you to grieve your mother's loss, to move through that emotionally? I would imagine that there was some part of it, but I'm not sure.
You know, my relationship with music was not always healthy either, which is, I don't have a problem talking about. I mean, I think in some ways I was almost addicted to practicing and playing and being creative in a way that was like, this is going to protect me from the world. This is before my mom passed away. You know, I think top level athletes and artists, we all are working with this thing of like how much of it is like, I'm creating for the world, but how much of it is actually a defense mechanism? Because I think it shows up in those places. I think in athletics, in work, it can show up anywhere.
And how you perform.
Yeah, it can show up anywhere.
If I'm good enough, then I'll be okay.
Yeah, but when it's connected to like a gift or a talent, it can be really tricky.
Yeah.
And I think I know at the time I didn't make music for a while. I stopped.
You did.
Because it's like that was the coping mechanism. So like what happens if all of the coping mechanisms just get dropped? Which isn't, you don't want to live there.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe if you're not working,
Yeah.
if you're in your home, if you have family with you and you're like, what's going to happen to me? Who am I? You might grow in ways because you're having to find other ways to take care of yourself.
Right.
And so I didn't for a while make music. It didn't help me. I needed to just be with my siblings and just like be a mess. And then sometimes I needed to go to work.
Wow.
I did just need to go to somewhere where I didn't have to be that kid. Wow. I didn't have to be the kid who's like at home dealing with that. So just to go there, like I'm just selling this product. I'm actually very grateful to Apple at the time because they gave me a transfer. I'm very thankful. Like that's what I needed.
Right.
That's why we don't know how like the world can help us in these ways where it's like sometimes just having like a job when you're selling coffee, like that's what you need. And then once I got things more developed, then I made my first record. And Crazy Ride, that whole song was about my trying to understand mortality, and there's going to be times where you're here, and there's going to be times when you're crying. There's going to be times when you're on a mountaintop, and like life is like this. There's going to be times when you're on the bathroom floor, and you're like this. Like all of these things are circling around us all the time.
All the time.
That's the reality of life.
That's the reality of life.
That is actually life.
Wow.
It's all of it.
And the more that you fight that and resist that, the harder it is, I have learned for myself.
Yeah.
Like, versus, okay, this moment is here. What is it here? I need to accept it. That was a Carl Jung thing. You have to accept it, right? It's
surrender and acceptance and humility. Like you talked about humility.
Yeah.
Those to me are the most beautiful and the hardest to master. I would say master. They're the hardest to, they're big lessons. And I think the beauty in them to me is that they take you out of yourself because the self kind of gets cracked. And then that's when I think the spiritual
comes through.
There's some thing that people have to make sense of that it's like rational thinking won't help you. That's what I would say. And it doesn't mean living in a make-believe world where you're just like, oh, unicorns are like running through. But I would be like, who am I to tell you?
Yeah.
Who am I to say?
Yeah.
If that's a fantasy life and you're going to write Lord of the Rings, talk about use your imagination to the way that will help you,
Yeah. Quickly, this just came to my heart. So I'm curious, how is your sister and how has your relationship shifted after your mother's passing?
My relationship with my siblings is, I love it. It's amazing. And I also know that it's mine and it's not other people's. For a while after my mom passed away, I knew I carried an attitude that wasn't fair. Like I would tell other people, you should call your mom and tell them you love them. You need to work through every fight you've ever had. You need to blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's not real. It's actually not real. Like, that's not good. First of all, it's not good advice and it's not fair because some people are raised with abusive parents and other things. And like, I can't control other people. It's not my job to tell other people how they should live.
I see.
And the relationships that they should have.
Yeah.
If they come to me and ask me like, hey, what do you think? And I'd be like, in the grand picture,
right,
you're going to lose them. So how can you work on making this like the best it can be? But I'm not going to prescribe something.
I see.
So I think, both my siblings have families, which are wonderful. There's more kids in the families now. There are things that are always going to be sad. There's always going to be like, I think too, I'm not a parent. I'm not a mother. I'm not going to speak for my sister, but I know that like a young mother is always going to want her mother there. It's not going to go away. It's not like I still want my mother now. When kids tell me too, I have kids, they look at me and they say, I miss my mom. I'll have a 5-year-old come up to me and the class won't even start. And they're like, I miss my mom. And I'll just look at them and be like, I miss my mom too.
Wow.
And it's like they have no idea where I'm coming from with that, but like letting them know.
Profound.
Yeah, and boys too. I tell them, I'm like, yeah, I miss my mom too, you know, but your mom's gonna want you to have a good day. She's gonna want to know that you had fun in class, and it's okay that you're sad now. Like you're gonna miss them. Maybe not everybody's going to want their parent there, but in terms of my family, I'm like,
Yeah, I see what
you're
you mean.
always going to want your parents at your wedding. You're going to want your parents at your graduation. You're going to want them with your grandchildren.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away. It's just, it's how are you living with this?
You mentioned that there was a student at your school who lost a parent. Did you feel a fiduciary duty to provide comfort to that student? I'm assuming
You know what? It came to me and I just was... I leave it as an invitation now.
Okay.
And even with friends too, I just don't,
Right.
Yeah, I just leave it as like, if you...
I'm here.
Yeah. And it's not, I don't talk about me or feelings I had, unless people want to ask. Yeah. Unless they ask, you know? Because I think traumatic events can also make some people like become these weird missionary people. And I just don't find that authentic anymore.
Yeah.
I think you need to be, it's not, and the best thing is like, I don't know where I learned this, when people are like, what does support look like? And I'll ask people, I can show up for you in one of these ways. I can just listen. You can vent at me. I can offer you support, or I can like ask you questions. And I use this in all my relationships now. It's like, It's like, I need to complain about something and I don't want you to fix it. I just want to yell. I just want to be like, blah, blah, blah. And your job is not there to like say, it's going to get better. Be this, feel better, be a happier person. It's just to like, can you hold this? Can you hold space? But I don't think we really taught this unless like you have a great therapist who's like, hey.
That comes with practice.
Yeah. Support is not always, we have to ask people, how do they want to receive support?
Yeah. And it's interesting. I was talking to my niece who just turned 18 and she's about to go to college. And I in a lighthearted way was talking about therapy. I'm like, you're going to college now. You should think about going to therapy. Things are going to come up for you. And her gut reaction was like, I don't need a therapist, but anyone who knows her life knows that she's been through a lot of hard things. And I know that she could benefit from it. And I honored it and I didn't challenge it, but it was a moment for me where I thought, wow, that's interesting. Like people do have this preconceived notion about whether it's good or bad, or they like it or don't like it. And I just thought to myself, wow, what role do I play as her uncle over time to nudge her that like, it's not a bad thing. It's actually quite healthy to do this. Mm-hmm. And maybe she has to do it when she's ready and she feels called, or when life, gives her something hard. But versus again, me being like, you got to go do these things. Like you were just saying.
Do this. I know the answer.
I know the answer. It's really good.
It's me. I have it all. Me, mine. I have
just
it all.
Just listen to me.
Yeah. I got to figure it out.
I know. I've been there.
Yeah.
But some people have to go through it their own way.
And isn't it? It's like we can never really know what it's like for another person, that's just such a mysterious concept. Think about even like your husband or wife or something, and like you are never really going to know what they're feeling or thinking ever, and you're this close to them. Totally. But you're never really gonna know.
Totally. What's one pattern you made conscious that changed your life? I'm curious.
Like a pattern within myself?
Yeah, a pattern of behavior that has become, you've made conscious and you're aware of, and it's actually changed.
One that I think is interesting that I've seen, actually, we're talking about men a lot, is it's under the umbrella of people pleasing, but also a sense of overly being compliant and nice. It's kind of like a false, I didn't actually know that this can be in the classroom too. When I saw it as a trauma response, I was like, what? Because it's like the kid who's always wanting to help, out of their like, I'm going to help you. Let me get this job. Give me this job. Give me just your job. That actually this sense of need of like uncomfortable sense of like, let me help. Let me be of service to the point where like, I have no boundaries. I have no walls.
The disease to please.
Yes. Yeah. But there's a fake niceness that like I've talked like with men about this when I'm like, you're too nice. And there's something about the niceness that is not real. Mm-hmm. It's like covering over something.
It's covering over.
Like that you actually need a little bit of edge. You need a little bit, you need boundaries and you need edge. It's like, so my knowing that about myself I don't think I'm this way at all now, but like I think I used to be quite boundaryless, and I actually thought that as an extension of what a nice person and a caring person is. A caring person is somebody who just like, oh yeah, I'll just stay at work for 15 hours.
Yeah.
I'll just give I'll give my money away all the time. I'll be attracted to people who are very aggressive and dominant, so that I don't have to make any decisions, because I'll just do whatever they want. I think we have to look at it, and we have to look at like this sense of compliance and of like, you know, I'd love a Venn diagram that has like respect, decorum, professionalism, being nice, all of these things. But, you know, it's like when they're like, women don't want to date the nice guy.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
What is that? Yeah. What's going on there?
Yeah, there's something there. And I do think it's connected to childhood. There's nothing wrong with being nice, but I've seen very nice guys be steamrolled by aspects of life, losing thousands of dollars, paying for things that is like crazy, terrible relationships, because it's like there isn't a self that they have. The self is the other self.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't have a sense of self. My sense of self is
huge.
Other.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. In fact,
And I was like that. I mean, I definitely was like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. For a while.
And you became aware to that of that how?
Through therapy, also being in a relationship that was very dangerous and bad for me really helped me see that.
Woke you up to this.
Yeah, it woke me up to seeing that this pattern isn't just localized to my relationship. It was actually localized to like my relationship with my father, and growing up in you know, with like levels of addiction in the home and other things that were happening that like made me, why am I tiptoeing around? Like, okay, there's like a thread here that has been like planted, and
I see.
Seeing how that like, in some ways it can be rewarded in the world, that's what's so tricky about a lot of this, because it's like certain even like trauma behaviors can be rewarded financially. Oh, you're an asshole, and you're just going to be like, show up at the table, $5 million, give the deal.
That's right.
And then it's rewarded. Society is like, yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
So it's, man, it's like, man, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Been running a long time with a chain around my heart. Smile on the outside while inside being torn apart. Been faking alright, but I'm learning to start again. Amen.
I'm curious how Breaking Out came to be.
I mean, this stuff is it's so connected, you know? So self-love and my sense of being like overly nice and thinking I loved myself. That's how that first bracket of the lyric started. When I was like, been running a long time with the chain inside my heart, smile on the outside. It was like I was presenting this image of like, I love who I am, but I didn't actually. And I remember the moment when I realized that I was like, I don't actually love all of the parts of myself.
Wow.
Like, I don't love my anxious side, my existential side. I don't love the worried or the hypervigilant aspects of myself. Now I do, like in my adult chair or whatever, I could say, I understand how to hold all of that. But at the time when I was writing that, it was like a light switch where I was like, oh, I didn't know this. I thought that I loved myself, but I realized I didn't. My love on myself was conditional. And that's why the chorus, when it talks about I'm getting out of delusion, it's like I'm losing some of that innocent sense of like niceness, and the world is a beautiful place. I do think the world is a beautiful place. I do. And I'm not saying that, but I'm not going to shield myself from the parts of me that are the problem. The chain around the heart was like, well, if I don't fully love all these aspects of myself, I'm not going to live in an authentic way. I'm not going to bring people into my life that are going to be of like the highest caliber. And I'm not going to be a like holistically developed person. It's like at the brain are 4 parts, 1 quadrant is that gone.
Yes. And that's a real implication for people, because so many of us think we can selective cherry pick emotions or parts of us. Yeah. And yet you think you're doing a good job over managing this, but you're actually not. Yeah. Silently, there is a chain around your heart. Yeah. That's the work to do, is to wake up to that. It's such a powerful line.
And the cultural conditioning.
And
that is like all the time. Like, that's why when that question is, who are you without this? It's so hard to get at it, because there's so much conditioning on us all the time. That like, you know, the Dalai Lama had said when he first came to the United States, like, the idea that people hated themselves was foreign to him.
Wow.
Because that's a Western, this
Thing.
idea that you are bad or... The biggest surprise to me about self-love is that actually it's a cultivated feeling. It's something that you can teach people and that we can be taught.
Tell me about now You Are the One. Tell me about You
Yeah.
Are the One. Who did you write that for? How did that come together? That's the song that's on the podcast now, You Are the One.
I can feel it like a river rising through me. A voice saying, listen, the love you seek, the love you need's within you, and you've gotta love yourself.
That song I wrote for me. It was written to myself. And it's written to the wider world. Because the message, the real message of that song is, and this is a life lesson that I had to have, which is that I was operating under a belief system that like you are not complete until you have like your main life soulmate. For a long time, I thought that was the point of life. That is the sense of incompleteness that I am living with is because I'm not blank, right? Or it's that I'm not married. I don't have a husband. I don't have kids. I don't have whatever it is. That like I was living under a belief system that's like so many poets and some people talk about this in ways where they're like, you're missing half,
Yes.
your other half. This is the
Yes.
purpose, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not saying there isn't a truth to that, but I'm like, if you don't actually understand that the only person that you're going to spend your whole life with is you. You've missed it.
You've missed it.
Even if you're on the deathbed with that person, you're still in your
you.
own mind.
Totally. The most important relationship you will ever
Yeah.
have is the one you have with yourself.
Until that is healed
Yeah.
and looked at, the other how is my life showing this to be true, right?
Yeah.
Because now I have these things, but I don't have them from a place of lack. It's not from a place of like, the only way I got there was because I did all the healing work. I mean, I'm still doing that
Right,
stuff, but
it's
it's
an
like,
ongoing
I'm
journey.
doing all of it. And I was like, then it came in my life. It's like
Right.
once the universe was like, okay, I see you.
Yeah.
I see you. You're
Yeah.
you're okay. Now you're ready. Now you're ready. It's like you're not
Yes.
ready when you're just like, oh, I need this. I have to have this. My
Correct.
life is a mess. I don't
Correct.
have the job. I don't have the thing. I don't
Yeah.
have
If
this.
you are box checking and you are trying to get to the next thing and think that once you hit that point, that's the wrong ladder to climb. Like that's the universe won't give it to you that way.
Building self-love and community and friendships and being creative and like coming at relationships from the perspective of like, I want to share my life with you because I love my life, not I want you in my life so then I can love it. You have to love your life first.
Yeah.
To me.
Yes. And I love some of the first lines of this song, You Are the One, because I can feel it like a river.
And that's how it is inside
and that's
of
how
you.
it is.
It's when we talk about...
And it's right here. It's not out there.
No.
It's
And
right
it is
here.
a felt thing. It's not a fake looking in the mirror and being like, I really love me today.
Yeah. Oh
it's
my God.
It's deeper than that.
It's way deeper than that.
Yeah, it's deeper than that.
It's deeper than any clothes or makeup or anything else that's going to make you feel like you love yourself. It's deeper than that. Yeah. And it's also, for me, it's one of the first things I restrict from myself. I'm so critical of myself that I have to constantly on a regular basis pause and remind myself, you need a little self-love. Even John will do, like the way you're talking to yourself is so hard. Like this morning out of bed, like I slept in and I'm like, all right, I got to get my life together. And he's like, do you realize what you're saying to yourself? You have to get your life together. So you woke up a little bit late. You have to get your life together. That's so drastic. That's disproportionate to the reality of what's actually going on. Like, do you realize what you're telling yourself? It's true what they say, got to start with yourself. That's one of the lines, right?
Yeah. That line, which is like somewhat a cliche. And like RuPaul talks about the end of her show.
Yes. If
And
you
you
can't
know, all
love
these
yourself.
gays, all these guys go, yeah.
Yeah, but how
I'm like,
profound.
I'm like, we're all sitting there being like, we don't love ourselves.
I know.
You know, we don't. It's not our fault.
It's not our fault.
It's not our fault.
Yeah.
But like, we are still working on getting there.
We're working on it.
Yeah, we're working
Yeah.
on getting on there.
Yeah. You know, I've just resigned to like, this is an everyday practice that I'm doing this.
The reason why I like Jungian thought is like his kind of individuation is like ultimately, if our point is to somewhat blossom into who we are, then that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say somewhat. I think that is our job.
Yes.
It's tantamount to a flower, like or a tree. We are supposed to
And
blossom
some people
like
can
that.
get there, and I think others can't.
Yeah.
And I think it's life circumstances and where you're born and a culture and all these other things and who you're exposed to.
Yeah.
But obviously the jury's out, but
Yeah.
it's like, it's not like, I'm always like, how is the news, like, how are we not talking about this in the wider world?
I know. Well, we're starting it right now.
Yeah.
We're talking about it now.
Let's go.
Let's go. That's it for today's episode. If listening to this brings up something for you, I'd love to hear about it. Shoot me a note at hello@letsgowithjulio.com. The Let's Go With Julio show is produced and edited by Ricky Gunton, and our theme song is You Are the One by Nick Deutsch. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with a friend or two who could benefit. I see y'all. I love you. Let's go, leaders.